give a welcome in just a moment to our 4 panelists. We've got Pascal Gauvin, Chief Operating Officer for EMEA and India at IHG. Well, you're not supposed to applaud yet. You're supposed to applaud at the end. What are you doing? Come on. I mean, I know you're popular, Pascal, but anyway. Next, we've got Olivier Granet. I'm pronouncing it in a French way. I hope I'm right. Olivier Granet, CEO, EMEA, AccorHotels. And we've also, oh, goodness. All right. Alex Kyriakidis, who is President and MD for Middle East and Africa for Marriott International. And last but by no means least, Simon Vincent, President for Europe MEA at Hilton Hotels. So a very, very warm welcome to all of you.
Thank you.
I bet you enjoyed the last panel, chaps.
Absolutely. Always like hearing from our owners.
You heard from your owners, and what you heard really was a howl of pain. Things aren't right in your industry, and a lot of the reason they're not right is because you guys are not, frankly, being fair. And you're not actually being very strategic because you're thinking short-term, not long-term, and you're neglecting key relationships with the owners. So let's now, I'm not a therapist, I'm a judge. How do you plead?
So Stephen, I think you've done an absolutely fabulous job of pitting the operators against the owners. And
yeah, that's not a plea, I need you to plead.
In reality,
yeah.
I think that our business works at its best when we work in partnership and where our interests are aligned. And if you look at Hilton, we've grown our pipeline significantly over the course of the last few years. And we have the largest organic pipeline in the industry, and 65% of the owners that are investing in our pipeline are existing owners. So that doesn't sound to me like a terribly unhappy set of campers. And I think what we focus on very hard is our relationship with the owners. And I say this openly to any owner who's sitting here in the audience, if you have a problem, you know my number, you know where I am, I'm very happy to sit and talk to you about it. And I think, the other thing we've got to put into context, and I think you've done, again, a great job of saying, our industry, painting a picture that maybe our industry is in some kind of crisis. And actually, if you look over the last 10 years, we've seen fantastic growth. Look at GDP. Look at the growth that we've seen. Our business follows that. And if you look at, we're about 10% of GDP, in the hospitality sector. We employ 1 in 10 people. I think we collectively have done a tremendous job, and we're a success story for the global economy. I don't think we should be painting our business down in the way that we are. And I think actually over the last 10 years, I would suggest to our owners that we collectively have delivered together amazing profitability for us both.
Indeed, very true.
Our business is somewhat cyclical. I would accept that.
As they say,
we are arguably at the top of the cycle.
I think that's the key.
I think when you're making money in the upswing, you guys have made an awful lot of money. In the downswing, we've got to cut our cloth accordingly. I think we're at the top of the cycle.
Well, as they say in all the best sort of money market programs, past success is no guarantee, or what is it? Past success is no guarantee of future performance, which surely is true here too. But when future performance, or at least the last couple of years, appear to have been tougher, particularly in the Middle East region, you have to reassess how relationships are working.
Absolutely, and I think the slightly different angle on this is the following. We're the biggest hotel operator in the world, the biggest absolute pipeline. 1 in 4 hotels in the future will be our system. And you get there by partnerships. You get there by working your way through good times and challenging times. I'm the oldest one on the stage, and I've been through 4 economic cycles in our industry. I've spent 38 years of my life in the profession advising owners, advising operators, governments, investors, banks, and been with Marriott now 7 years. And one thing you see is the critical importance of when you have an economic cycle of sitting down together with your owners and working your way through it. That is the true mark of a partnership. The good times, as was said earlier, when the tide's up, all boats rise. But it's really when you have a challenging environment that you sit down and you work your way through it. Again, Middle East Africa for us is a very, very big region. And while we're feeling the acute pain of oversupply here, to put it in context, 16 to 19, 50% growth in Dubai to 140,000 rooms. That's a hell of a rate of growth for the market to absorb. It's absorbing it, but it's taking pain on rate. Our mission, our collective mission, is to sit down with our owners and say, what can we do? What levers can we use to make sure that we protect as much of the bottom line as possible?
Okay. Understood, an important message, and your experience matters. But here's the crude question. Are you, as operators, doing enough for your, to satisfy the owners with whom you have these vital relationships? Are you doing enough, or are you too busy sort of, disappearing up your own, excuse my language, but disappearing up your own backsides, constantly developing new niche brands and pleasing your shareholders with lovely dividend payments, but not actually working hard enough at the relationship with the owners?
No, our business is in the field. We are in Dubai, we are managing the Middle East, and that's the only thing we do. We don't take care of the shareholder, we don't take care of the upside. We are working close with our owners. We've been at AHIC since 1961 in the region. Many owners, we are working with their grandson. We have generation of generation, one after the other, continue working with us. So it means, or it seems, that we have some great relationship. Does it mean we are perfect? We are not. This partnership is absolutely critical. Okay. Working together, understanding each other, making sure that we can make this journey great at all time, on the up, on the down, with disruptors, with whatever business environment we have. This is our role. That's why we are focusing on being an operator and not focusing being an owner. And we can't exist without owners. We need investors and owners to build this hotel and make sure that they can make money of it. This is our thinking every day.
Are you less important than you used to be? Because in this new world of online travel agencies and price comparisons, a click of a mouse or a smartphone fingertip, and with Airbnb as a new competitor as well, are you as important as you used to be?
We are more important than before, because all our investment, all the money that we make is invested in technology, sales, marketing, and more importantly, training, developing, recruiting the right people that are going to deliver consistent experience.
You're handing over a lot of sales and to online I mean, you're just paying them to sell for you.
No, our guests, our loyal guests, through loyalty, through all technology.
Oh, but that's a really old school.
Book direct with us. No, they book direct with us for most of them. And when we need help from outside, OTAs are a great channel, but not at all time and not at the wrong price. We need to choose to open or close that tap. But of course, it needs the right articulation and right system.
I think if there's one mistake the hotel operators have made, it's in allowing the OTAs to get between themselves, their brands, and the customer.
Right.
And we're absolutely committed to regaining.
This is really interesting. So how do you do that?
We are going to digitalize our whole customer journey in the way that some of the disruptors have done. And,
Sorry, explain.
Well, I think this whole concept that only the disruptors and only the new economy can innovate is absolute rubbish.
Tell me your top three innovations.
So we've been going for 100 years. So Hilton, we invented the Waldorf salad. We invented the pina colada. We invented televisions but this was an invention. This was an innovation at one point in time. Televisions in rooms. Room service.
You invented the pina colada, right?
We invented the pina colada, absolutely. Now, bringing it up to date, you can now use this, and you can choose your room, and you can check in, and that's only one part of the journey. So when I say we're going to digitalize the journey, that's check in, check out. You think about the dreaming, you think about the purchase, you think about the pre-arrival, you think about the arrival experience, you think then about the check-in, check-out, which we've digitalized, you then think about the follow-up. We will digitalize that whole journey, and that's our great strength of our brands, and don't underestimate what the so-called legacy businesses can do in this regard. We're innovating like crazy right now, and you all see that coming through.
Let me tell you where we're focusing on generating a value proposition for our owners, our guests, our associates, and our stakeholders. That's our loyalty program. That is where the future lies. It's where the OTAs want to jump in between us and our loyalty program members.
Yeah.
We have 110 million loyalty members who give us 50% of our base business around the world. They're growing 1 million a month. This is where
a million a month?
1 million a month.
On the loyalty program?
On the loyalty program.
Well,
Active
on that
members,
basis,
1 million
like
a
in
month.
3 years' time, you're going to have half the world's population on your
Well,
loyalty program.
Let me tell you that this is key because looking at the value proposition to the loyalty member is critical. We have just invested hundreds of millions of dollars to harmonize our program across SPG, Marriott Rewards, and Ritz-Carlton. Make it one benefits program, one seamless program, giving access to 6,700 hotels, 30 brands around the world to our loyalty members. Why? Because that's the OTA gambit. That is where we can say to the loyal guest in our system, come to us directly, don't go to the OTA.
You'll get the best price
It's
direct.
the
Because to be
lowest
clear,
channel.
you're never ever going to allow loyalty points to be picked up by somebody who books
We don't.
through it.
We don't.
You don't?
We don't.
Never will?
We do not.
None
And
of
we
you ever
not.
will.
Yeah.
This is the power of the commercial engine that we collectively have and that we can create through those loyalty programs. And, you know, we need to reassert.
Yeah, but
our
I'm the
authority
customer.
with
I'm
the
supposed to
customer.
be king.
Well, you
I'm
are
really
king.
pissed off that you won't give me loyalty points if I happen to book a Marriott through an OTA. That
Well, no, but you'll
frustrates
be-
the shit out of it. Sorry.
You're
you know,
most
man.
welcome to be a
But-
member of the Marriott loyalty program.
3 seconds to become a member.
Yeah, but I might get a better
Click.
price through the OTA.
You won't.
No, that's
you
what we're
won't.
saying. You will get the best price by going direct.
You will have
To
the
the
best
operator.
rate on direct channel.
But so you guys never chuck out rooms onto lastminute.com?
No, we did. We allowed that to happen. That's what I said. It was the fundamental mistake of the hotel business. We are.
You
as
don't
a
do
hotel-
that anymore?
We are working towards making
Whoa,
sure.
hang
no,
on,
we
that
are So we are actively communicating to our customers. The best rate will be through our direct channels.
But
And
if
that
I
is the
went
lowest
onto if I went onto
and
lastminute.com,
most importantly, most importantly though, that is the lowest point of acquisition to the owner.
So can I just
So
state
that's
the
going to
obvious?
drive profitability into the owner by
in-
taking down the third-party commissions we're
In
paying.
allowing the OTAs to have access, there is an agreement. And that agreement cannot be a suicide agreement. That agreement embodies conditions that say you're allowed to price as follows. What you're not allowed to do is go below the price that we would offer as a
Right.
company. And that is part and parcel of what we agree. The other point here is it's down to the guests. Why do we have
Yep.
the brands that we do? Because our guests say, this is important to me. I want this brand. I love staying at this brand. Our mission as an industry is frankly to do better, to capture more guests into our ecosystem, to support our brands and bring more profitability to our owners because it is the lowest cost of distribution.
So when you, I'm sure you were all in the room, when you heard the owners, I don't know, I have to, you know, with some rather negative comments earlier, do you just regard them as being whingers?
No.
I
We
say
need
that I
we
actually-
need to listen to them. This is very important. And like I said, we listen to them every day. We need to understand their business deeply. We need to understand what they need at the bottom line. We need to adjust our operation to their need. This is very important. Our fees is a reward for the great work that we do. And it has to be equitable. We absolutely understand.
And that's a powerful statement, but in practical terms, and you said to me earlier, you said, am I saying we're perfect? No, I'm not. So, and that again, that's worth taking away. So in practical terms, what might change in the relationship going forward?
I mean, it's just, we're investing in different parts. They're investing in an hotel, we're investing in our people, in our brand, in our marketing, in everything. So
yeah, but you heard them,
there is
you know,
something-
even some of them talked about rip-offs.
No,
even
no,
some
no,
of
no.
them
You-
talked
you
about
push
big
them to the
brands.
rip-off, but
I
they
did not.
say- they say-
I didn't push them into
they
say,
say-
no, they told me a story.
No.
Was it Yanis? He
You
told
know-
me a story about how the big chain had come to him and actually they, you know, initially talked about a 5-star operation, but it turned out they were actually offering a 4-star operation, and in terms of its actual delivery, it was more like a 3-star
operator.
operation.
That's the issue.
A brand is a brand, and the promise of the brand is very important. And when we sit down with the owners and we sign that brand, we need to make sure we have a clarity of what we want to achieve, how we want to achieve, what is this brand all about, what is the leveraging of the owners. Because if we don't understand this business well, maybe we go in bed with somebody which maybe later on we will have problem. We don't want to have that. We want to be a partner which is flexible and powerful, empowered to deliver the right revenue, adjust its cost when it's needed, and making sure we can create bottom line for our owners.
Olivier has been relatively quiet with AccorHotels in the corner, but Olivier, there is no escape. I need your perspective on this.
Yeah, practical term, you're asking the right question.
Am I? Oh, good. Thank God for that.
We have a kind of paradox where, cycle there is nothing new, but then we discuss a lot about the relationship with owners. We discuss a lot about OTAs. We are all hotel operator. We have our day-to-day job to focus on the properties with engaged team and to take care of the client.
But to be honest, you in many cases, maybe I'm getting this completely wrong, but it seems to me, in many cases, you're not really operators as in day-to-day managing hotels. You're a brand manager, and you franchise out day-to-day operations.
That's a very important point, where it's true that on the US market, most of the model, and you have 80% of the properties a network which is franchise. Here in Middle East, we are mainly on the management agreement, and that's a very important difference.
That is. So
Yes.
just to give folks here who may not know Accor's business model completely, in the Middle East area, what percentage of your hotels do you actually actively manage?
In Middle East Africa, we have 92% of the properties that are managed,
About the same.
plus a
Full
few
service,
franchise
90
and a
plus.
few ownership.
Okay, so
90 plus on full service.
hang on, I'm finished.
By the way,
Olivier.
franchise isn't a dirty word.
Yeah.
No, but
I mean, you're positioning it
it means I've got to recalibrate what you guys actually do.
Yeah.
I thought, naively, I came to this conference thinking that, oh my God, what an incredible, sophisticated and complex operation it must be for these guys, because they've got these thousands of hotels and they're actually running these hotels. But it turns out you're not even running half of them. You're just offering your logo, and you presumably monitor standards, but you're not actually running them.
But your point is really right on the fact
In the
that
Middle East,
we are
right.
announcing we are announcing huge development pipeline. We say plus 50% of the network for Accor for 50,000 to 80,000 rooms. Same number, if I'm correct, with Marriott. So we are announcing huge number, and we have to listen to the market and to the owners that have a perception that what's the focus of the hotel operator, developing their pipeline, announcing new brand versus our day-to-day job. And the focus and that's for me the most exciting part of the job. This is on day-to-day to manage a platform. Right. And to make sure that our system is developing and is generating growth for the benefit of our partners and our guests, and at the same time to be available, to have my number available for the owners, and to be able to sit at any time, and when there is a problem, to fix it.
Yeah, okay. Did you want to add something right now,
I just
Simon?
think all of this comes down to alignment of interest.
Just get your mic right round to your mouth. And
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. Oh, it's no, it's all about alignment of interests. I think everything we've just talked about, and I think I wouldn't like to use the word "what's going to change," but I think what we need to continue to focus on is alignment of interests amongst the two business partners, and we absolutely need to focus on, as operators, on owners' return and their investment and their return on investment and the decisions that they're taking based on the projections in their hotel. And likewise, we just need to work together and align our interests around that.
And
It's very simple.
There is different types, so the flexibility is very important. You need to know your owners. I have spent 50% of my time meeting with the owners on the operation, talking to them, asking them for feedback. What do we do well? Is there anything we could do better? Give me some feedback. The general manager, your communication. Maybe something we don't do very well is communicating on a regular basis on everything we are doing. Because at our background, a lot of things are happening. And sometimes we are not on, giving to the owners all the details of everything we are doing, and we just judge or evaluate our work on the results of the hotel at a certain time. So we need to do a bit better and maybe more transparent about everything we are doing, that we can bring the owners in our world and making sure that they understand what the future looks like with us.
Right. I want to shift that. There's just one thing that I heard earlier that did strike me as interesting. It would be maybe a radical thing for you guys to think about, but one representative owner in this room said, you know, the problem with the operators is they really don't have enough skin in the game when it comes to our perspective, because, you know, we're bricks and mortar to them, but frankly, the worst thing that can happen is the hotel doesn't do very well, and we might not like their operation of it, and then, you know, the relationship might end, but they just move on, and they're massively expanding, and any particular hotel doesn't really matter to them. If you operators took a small percentage stake in these hotels, in the actual bricks and mortar, it might change the dynamic of the relationship. It certainly might address that particular concern.
Can I, if I may comment on this, because it's an area I spent a lot of my time in before joining this side of the table. Actually, there's probably greater risk in an operator taking a piece of a project than there is benefit. And the reason being that there comes a lot of good things from the line being clear, and from the owner being able to point a finger across the desk and say, you could do better here. You're not doing as well as I'm expecting. You should focus to do better here. If you are wearing both hats, you are wearing the operator hat and as well as an owner investor hat,
right,
that line becomes blurred. That very clear demarcation line becomes blurred. So yes, are there times when we take a stake? Absolutely. There are times when we acquire real estate and we develop it and then we flip it out to an owner. So we do take positions sometimes in real estate. But I think the notion that
how much real estate do you actually own at the moment?
Well, going back in time, Marriott was the grandfather of what is known as the OpCo-PropCo split. We were an integrated real estate and operating company. And then we focused on the realization that actually they're very separate businesses, and no matter how expert we all think we are in real estate, we are not
so
real estate experts.
So you think these days you'd actually see it as a conflict of interest if you would
we
you?
see it if you invest in an asset, you could potentially be in a position of conflict of interest. There are arguments that could be made for both sides, but I'm just pointing out the obvious one where you can't point the finger.
Yeah,
where
no, I
think there's a fundamental reason why we've got to where we've got to, and that there is a risk-reward equation going on here. And you know, hotels have become very attractive as an asset class to investors, and they've made an awful lot of money out of hotels, which are very cash generative. And in the good times, they've made supernormal profits. And we've got to this point, I think, because you know, that's the nature of our business around supply and demand. And you've seen a lot of private equity or pension funds or whatever coming into the hotel space, seeing the opportunity to drive yield by taking the risk and therefore getting a greater share of the reward. At the same time where the operators don't necessarily take the risk and take a much smaller percentage of the reward.
Hang on, the word you're not using, but maybe the word you're looking for is greedy. You think some investors are getting greedy?
No. I said they've benefited and they've taken very brave decisions at a point in the cycle that have proved very profitable for them.
I just don't think this industry is a short-term bet.
Exactly.
As Jalil said on the stage earlier, Majid Al Futtaim's thinking is real estate is a long-term business. I can guarantee every single person in this room we're going to hit another cycle 8 to 10 years from now. We just are. That's the nature of cycles. They will come, they will go. And I think in looking at this industry, you necessarily have to look at it in the medium to long term. Yep. And you've got to have the checks and balances in place that protect both sides of the equation. The market is becoming increasingly sophisticated. I will say this. Competition is intensifying. Owners have phenomenal expertise today in judging what's good and what's not good.
Right.
And they're the checks and balances in the system. But at the end of the day, it's relationships, because we're in a people business.
And the world has moved on, really. I mean, when I was listening a bit to the panel, I think it was maybe a few years ago or whatever. Today, honestly, the relationship with the owners is equal to equal. We are talking the same language. They are as hoteliers as we are. We can really align on our strategy. We can really speak about our tools and what we are doing and so on. So honestly, it's most of the time, it has moved to common decision. But there is something I have heard which I love from the owners is that they say sometime we have to be involved in the operation because the service is not right. That's really a very valid point.
You don't tell them to stick their noses out of your business.
We want them, but we cannot accept that we are going down to guest delivering a great guest experience. This is what we are paid for. This is our first priority. And if we fail to do that, they are right to come and tell us you're not doing your job.
Actually, well, there's one suggestion on the panel that they ought to have the right to sort of renegotiate contracts if they're not fair.
But I think you answered the question, what is a contract? And at the end of the day...
Yeah, but I was playing devil's advocate. Now I'm playing
Yeah.
devil's advocate with you. So it seems to me, you know, if a contract no longer fits the circumstances of the time and it's just not working in a basic economic sense, you've got to at least give them the...
Contracts of today are working very well. They were, of course, when we talk about 30 years ago, it was totally different for operators and for owners. We were in a very different environment. But when you look at today's management contract, we have skin in the game. We consider we have skin in the game. There is sometimes some guarantee, there is sometimes some hurdle on the GOP. So we really, if we make great performance, we make the right amount of money.
Let me ask all four of you. You know, here I sit with three giants of the hotel operating business. You all represent companies that are, you know, big players in the game. Is there more grumpiness in the Mid East region than in other parts of the world?
I think it's just you that's grumpy.
Look, I think...
It's Sergei Lavrov that's made you grumpy.
No, I'm not grumpy at all. I'm enjoying it.
This is a great business.
No, I know it's a great business and you're all making money.
I have many more happy owners than I have unhappy owners. And if I've got any unhappy owners, come and see me.
And I think that's fair. But look, what you're seeing is a reflection of what's happening in one of our major markets. I mentioned earlier the oversupply in Dubai. I mentioned that the business, from an occupancy standpoint, is very robust. Q1, 85% occupancy. Tell that to anybody outside Dubai. They'll say, my God, that's phenomenal.
It's an
but
amazing
the fact
success
is,
story.
with so much more supply, everyone's undercutting on the
But
rent.
that's the thing.
But that's the piece.
Well,
that's the piece.
because you know the theme of we're all here
Yeah.
with the theme of focusing on the future. So yes, we can celebrate massive success in the past. God knows Dubai is the most unbelievable success story.
Yep.
But when you look at the whatever it is, 160,000 new beds, whatever it is, and you look at what's even on a smaller scale planned for Ras Al Khaimah, as operators, do you worry about the possibility of oversupply?
If we accept the challenge to bring, to take an hotel and to sign a management contract with an owner for 10, 15, 20 years, we need to ensure we're not worried. We need to ensure that before we sign, we agree on these 20 years. Things that are going to happen, the ups, the downs, how are we going to make sure that when it's the up, how do we maximize revenue and profit? When it's done, how do we reduce the cost to ensure that they feel they are taken care of? They feel that we are not just a machine, but we are agile, we are nimble, we can respond to their needs, that our brand are producing, that our system are always impeccable to bring more revenue. And that's the value of the brand, that's the value of all our groups compared to just an unbranded hotel.
Yes.
This is a big responsibility that we have. If we take all together our pipeline for the region, it probably represents something like 10 to 15 billion US dollar, what we represent in terms of cost, that an amount of investment that will come in the coming years. So we have a big responsibility. We have a big responsibility of doing something which is not copy-paste. And this is where we need to have clear discussion with our partners on what is working, what is not working, to anticipate the development of the market. Where, I mean, we have 70% of our pipeline, which is with existing owners. And therefore, this is when we say that we invest in some brands, it's also how we anticipate the expectation from the guest and how we are able to bring to the market some new concept and brand that will be successful for the coming years.
Okay. Well, on that then, the clock is, we were actually supposed to finish at 1:30, which is almost now, but we're going to give ourselves a few more minutes. So I take Simon's point. Maybe I'm coming across as Mr. Grumpy. Goodness knows I wouldn't want to be seen as Mr. Grumpy. So all of you operators, you're all expressing still great confidence in this region. Roll out for me, if you would, your most exciting sort of projects for this particular region, because I'm sure there's lots of people in the room who would like to know that you're, putting your monies where your mouths are, and you're actually really got some big plans for this region. So let's just hear a few.
Well, listen, we're going to triple the size of our network in the Middle East and Africa over the course of the next 3 years.
And at all levels. I mean, you
At
heard
all
a lot
levels,
of
yep.
people
So-
going on about the
Yep.
mid-scale.
So mid-scale, I know it came up earlier. I think mid-scale is going to be a big area of growth for us. We're about to build a Hampton, 450-bedroom Hampton in Ras Al Khaimah. It will complement the 6 brands we've already got here. We've just brought the Hilton Garden Inn brand into Dubai, and we're seeing significant growth in Egypt, in Saudi, in UAE, right the way across the region. And you know what? The one thing we haven't really talked that much about is customers.
Yeah.
And it's customers that are driving that demand. We don't sit in a darkened room and just dream up these brands. There is demand there from customers to build these hotels.
Within MENA, our top 3 markets for growth are the UAE, Kingdom, and Egypt, for different reasons. And of course, RAC and the support of this conference is phenomenal. Delighted. And a lot of what you said earlier, though, about the future comes down to also how comfortable our owners are in backing that future. And nearly 100% of our owners in 27 countries we operate in Middle East Africa are locals who buy into that vision. So who would have thought Sheikh Mohammed's vision for what's happened in Dubai has been backed, and look at what's happened today. Sheikh Saud's vision for what will happen here in Ras Al Khaimah is being bought by Emiratis who are investing in those assets into the future. So for us, these are the top 3 countries where we're really focusing a lot of our development growth.
Okay. Pascal?
So, yeah, in addition to all of what my colleagues have said, we are deploying our new guest reservation system, which is going to be the first in the industry. So really a very important piece of technology.
What's new about it?
It's cloud-based, so we have the profile of our guest, and it allows us, of course, except the technology on bookings, checking in and checking out, it allows us to understand the guest very well from his past stay and personalize his service. Because no matter if we play at Holiday Inn Express, Holiday Inn, or Intercontinental, we need to ensure the guest experience is impeccable. When we know them well, we can do that, and we know they become more loyal and they stay more with us.
I hope you're not handing it on to Cambridge Analytica.
No, it's very easy. And so that's the first thing. The second thing is they talk about food and beverage. We are also bringing more for food and beverage capability. So we have a new division in our organization that will take care of the food and beverage, the outlets. Again, a big evolution in food and beverage. We go to a market which is more branded, where people are a bit different, the expectations are different. So we're really working on that, making sure we can escort our owners in developing also this part of the business.
Right.
And of course, as everything, we will continue investing in our people. That's the most important. This is the people who delivered the right brand experience, and especially countries like Saudi Arabia or the UAE, where nationalization is very important. We'll continue training nationals to ensure they can enjoy working for AHIC and do a career in AHIC. And that's what we are passionate about, and that's what we want to bring to the owners to ensure we can give them the right brand that drive performance.
All right. Thank you for that, Pascal. And Olivier, go on.
We cover all market segments, from economy to luxury. And in fact, what is very interesting...
Are you also, sorry to interrupt, are you very much like Simon, very aware of this sort of mid-scale opportunity, and you're...
We are very much aware of the mid-scale opportunity, of the economy opportunity. We are very well known for our presence in economy mid-scale, which was really the recognition for Accor for the last 50 years. We made a very important move 2 years ago with the acquisition of FRHI, meaning Fairmont, Raffles, and Swiss Hotel, that gave for us really, it was a game changer in the region in terms of perception, also on the luxury segment. And in fact, what is very interesting is that 70% of our key partners are multi-segment. So we have a lot of partners that are developing at the same time. They can develop up to Raffles and also have Ibis Hotel. We have a very strong commitment in the region, and 2 months ago, the announcement of the participation of PIF from Saudi in our, we were the last one to have our PropCo and OpCo, so there was the participation of PIF in our PropCo, so there is very strong interest and ties with Saudi, which is of course a very important market in the region. And then the last point, which for us is really the focus, is Accor is very active on the market. Our chairman and CEO is announcing one acquisition almost every week. And in fact, in terms of brands, we are very proud to be able to bring the brand to the region with a very early adoption rate. So last year, we have signed for Mama Shelter, 25 hours. So we have a capacity to bring some new concept in the region, which believe are very attractive for the guests and for the owners.
Well, because you're all so big and you all have so many niches and brands that you're offering, you're obviously, in a sense, all bitter enemies. You don't really feel on this panel like you're bitter enemies. Do you see each other as...
We're one big happy family.
Yeah. For the purposes of this panel discussion.
Oh, okay.
All right. I'm very aware that we've slightly overrun on the original schedule, and it is lunchtime, and my tummy's beginning to rumble. But if anybody got a burning question, I'm just going to give people the opportunity to ask one or two questions before we close. But if there aren't any questions, that's fine too. It's up to you. Is there anybody with all of these
behind you,
top operators? Right. We're going to have to swivel or something. We'll get a microphone to you, sir, and I'm afraid the revolving stage doesn't move very fast, but we'll listen to you. Go on.
Hello, this is Gavi Shamat from Verscom Group. I need to address a question to the CEO of Marriott. Do you think this expansion that you have done is a good news for the operators, for the owners of the hotels, and how it is taken in a market? Is it a positive move that you have done, or you have done it just to grab more brands from the Starwood collection and the hotels and the names?
Thank you. I think I only have half a minute or a minute to respond to a question which could easily take a long time. But let me just say this. At the end of the day, the acid test for me is the market speaks. And what do I mean by the market? I mean the guests, being our loyalty program members, who are extremely strong, growing, and have become now the largest in the industry, and really a powerful engine, driving half of our occupancy, 50% of our occupancies worldwide. Secondly, the market from an owner reaction perspective. We had owners of pure Marriott, we had owners of pure SPG brands, some owners of both. Now we're getting those owners wanting the brands from SPG or from Marriott. Again, very healthy from an owner reaction perspective. And then finally, from a public markets perspective, how is the world looking at what we have done? Again, if you look at the share price performance, I think that will speak for itself. It doesn't mean to say everything is 100% done. No, we're still working. We still have a long way to go. We're bringing major efficiencies to our owners with the relaunch of the loyalty program in August, where it's going to be 20% less expensive and give the loyalty members 20% more in points. So these are the kinds of things that come with scale. And if we're fighting the OTAs, if we're fighting the search engines, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars on trying to capture our customers, we now have the scale and the dollars to fight back. And that, for us, is the reason, the principal reason for the SPG acquisition. But happy to continue the conversation over lunch. Yeah.
Is there anybody else out there? I'm going to give the gift of one more question. Oh, well, ma'am, we've just stopped right in front of you. It's amazing. It's like a bus stop. So you've got the microphone. You're going to get the last question. Go on.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if the stopping meant that it's finished for the session, but quick questioning. What's your message for the owners and the developers? We heard it from their side, but as operators, what would you say to them? How can you work together better?
I would say trust us, challenge us, and ensure that we partners together. But trust us. Trust is key. When there is trust, we are working extremely well. Unfortunately, there is a lot of trust there.
close relationship based on with a customer-centric approach. Our industry totally changed. Every day now is starting in the hotel by looking at the guest comments, and that's something that also we have to do with the owner, and to define together what's the best way to serve the customer. And that's something that we have to work very closely together.
Spirit of partnership, partnership in good times and challenging times. Not us and them, us together, sitting down, working our way through the issues. Single most important thing I've seen in 45 years in this business.
I would say we're totally committed to putting the owner interests at the heart of our business, right the way through the organization. I would say we've got the best brands in the business. If you look at the RGI index of all our brands, every day of the week, every brand, every region is ahead and gaining, and you can't have a better home than Hilton to work with.
As I said, all friends on this panel, ladies and gentlemen. Right, we've got to stop, and we're almost out of time. Alex, I believe you've got a very quick message about something happening later on today.
I just wanted to remind everybody, please, join us this evening at the Ritz-Carlton El Wadi, not the beach next door, be on your own. The Ritz-Carlton El Wadi this evening for the reception that AHIC and Marriott are hosting. Buses are leaving here at 6:30. We very much look forward to seeing you tonight, and please join us.
Right. Well, that's a lovely message to end with. Ladies and gentlemen, I knew I was going to enjoy the panel followed by panel because it was going to raise lots of challenging issues. It did. It's been a fascinating conversation full of, you know, optimism, but also I think an acceptance that there are real challenges out there. So all that remains for me to do is say enjoy your lunch, ladies and gentlemen. We're back in roughly an hour or so. But before you go, give a very warm hand to our operator panel. Thank you, guys.
Stephen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Thanks, Simon. Thank
Alex.
you so much. Thanks, Olivier.
Hold on, I just want to say a huge thanks as well for the operators for joining this panel, for your passion. And, you know, we did say hashtag, it's not your average AHIC. But we appreciate the frankness and this discussion. It's a good discussion. It's always good to have the operators and the investors, and it seems to be all going in the right direction.